A very warm good morning to all of you. Dear students, once again, I would like to welcome all of you to a new session of the civics class. Today, we are going to continue with the same chapter, chapter number 2, the President and the Vice President, part 2. Do you remember what we were discussing in the last class? First of all, we were discussing about the President of our country, and we were seeing some of the special features and certain responsibilities of our President, like he is the head of the armed forces or the supreme commander of our armed forces, then he is the first citizen of our country, and so on. Secondly, we were discussing about the qualifications for election. If a person wants to be elected as the president of our country, he must have certain qualifications, and we were discussing about those qualifications. And finally, we were discussing about the composition of the electoral college. In the last class, I have explained very well what is meant by electoral college. Electoral college means the elected members of parliament, which means from Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and the elected members from different state legislative assemblies. All these people together is being known as electoral college, and electoral college elects the president. So we were discussing about all these 3 points in the last class. Today we are going to continue with the reason for indirect election. So in the last class I have told you very clearly that in India we follow indirect election in the election of the president of our country. So we are going to see what are the main reasons behind the indirect election. First of all, if the president was to be elected directly, he would become a rival center of power to the Council of Ministers, which means the Council of Ministers will not be having any power over the president if he is elected directly by the people. So he can become the ultimate power in our country. So that's why we are following indirect election, because we are following a democratic system in our country. In the democratic system, the people's representatives are having the real power. So the ministers, Council of Ministers and the Prime Minister, all these people are directly elected by the people. So that's why they have got the real power, and the president is becoming the nominal executive. And again, it will be against the parliamentary system with the ministerial responsibility. So if you are directly electing the president, there is no role for the parliament. Parliament is not a necessary organ functioning for the well-being of our nation. So that's why there will be no role for the ministerial responsibility. And finally, we can see an example. We will take America as an example. In America, all the people of the nation together elects the president, and the president appoints his subordinates. But in India, the representatives of the people, especially the representatives like members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, then members of state legislative assembly, they are electing the president. So that's why we are following indirect election in the election of the president. Like Jawaharlal Nehru said, we could not have a directly elected president and not give him real powers. So we are following indirect election. Then the second point says that domination of majority party in electing the president, which means the majority party, or after every general election we can say that majority party forms the government. So the majority party has to appoint a person as the president, or the interest of the majority party should be resembled in the election of the president. Because we are following a democratic system, the majority party means the majority party will be elected by the people, or the interest of the people will be with the majority party. So in those cases, majority parties, one person should become the president. So domination of majority party in electing the president, again nominated by the ruling party. I have already told you about this point. And finally, such a president could not represent the constituent states of the union. And the third reason says that the president is elected by an electoral college. We have already seen the elected members of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and the state legislative assembly. They together is being known as electoral college, and they are electing the president. and it consists of the elected members of the two houses of parliament and the legislative assemblies of the states. That's why we can say that the president is being appointed with a very clear voice of center as well as the states, because the representatives of the parliament means they are the voice of the center, and the representatives from the state legislative assemblies, they are the voice of the states. So finally the election of the president, or if a person is being appointed as the president, he becomes the voice of center as well as the states. So these are the main reasons behind the indirect election of the president. Now let's see the term of office, or how many years a person can remain in his office as the president of our country. He can hold office for a term of 5 years. So normally a president can hold his office, or a person can remain in power for 5 years. Secondly, from the date on which he enters upon his office. Suppose in 2020 January 1st, if he is being appointed as the president, from that particular day till the next 5 years, that means 2025 January 1st, he can remain in his power. But there is a speciality: he shall continue to hold office until successor takes charge, which means even if a president has completed his 5 years, still the next person take the charge. Maybe after 5 years and 5 months or 6 months or 7 months, the new person has elected as the president. Still that time, even the 5 years of period is over, he can continue to hold office until the next person takes charge. So these are some of the basic information and some of the basic procedure in the election and appointment of the president. Now let's see, if a president is not eligible for his post, we cannot simply disqualify him from his position, because he is being considered as the first citizen of our country. He is the supreme commander of armed forces. He is the highest executive authority in our country. So he is decorating a lot of positions. So we cannot simply disqualify him. So if we want to disqualify, or if we want to remove a president from his post, there is a procedure, and this particular procedure is being known as impeachment. So let's see what is the procedure for the impeachment of the president. When a president is to be impeached for violation of the constitution, either house of parliament can level the charge. So first of all, we need to understand, if a person or if a president to be disqualified, there must be proper reason. The proper reason, like violation of the constitution or misbehavior and so on. So in the case of violation of the constitution, either house of the parliament can level the charge. Any house of the parliament, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, they can level the charge, or they can start the procedure. First of all, least 14 days notice in writing. Before beginning before starting the resolution, 14 days in early, there should be a notice given to the president in writing. Second one, it must be signed by not less than 1/4 of the total members. If it is starting in Lok Sabha, less than 1/4 of the people, or 1/4 of the total members of Lok Sabha should be signed it. And again, the resolution is passed by a majority, means there must be discussion in the parliament, either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha, wherever it is, it should be passed by a majority. And what is the criteria of that majority? Of not less than 2/3 of the total membership. If 300 people are there, 200 people must support. So this is the first step. When a president is to be impeached for violation of the constitution, either house of the parliament can level the charge. Any one of the house, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, can start the procedure. Least 14 days notice in writing. At least before 14 days, before the beginning of the resolution, a notice should be given to the president in writing. A written notice should be given. It must be signed by not less than 1/4 of the total members. And again, the resolution, if the resolution is passed, it must be supported by a majority. Majority means not less than 2/3 of the total membership. And the second point says that charge preferred by either house of the parliament, the other house will investigate the charge. I have already told you, either the house of the parliament can begin the procedure, like if Lok Sabha charged the case. Now the other house, which means Rajya Sabha, will investigate the charge. So we have already seen the violation of the constitution can be a reason in the disqualification of the president. So if Rajya Sabha started the procedure, or if Rajya Sabha has followed all other requirements and they fulfilled it, or they have completed it, so they have introduced this particular resolution. Now the other house, which means Lok Sabha, will make an investigation about the charge. And again, the president has the right to appear and to be represented at such an investigation. So there will be a resolution, or there will be a discussion will be taking place in either of the either house of the parliament, maybe in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. So the president can be appear and be represented at such an investigation. And now the third step, if a resolution is passed, or if the house found that the president is guilty by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the total membership declaring that the charge has been sustained, such a resolution will have the effect of moving the president from his office, which means after the investigation on the charge, if the members feeling that the president had committed some mistake, or if the president is guilty, and it is supported by not less than 2/3 of the total membership, then such a resolution will have the effect of removing the president from his office. So this is the procedure of removing the president from his office, and this procedure is being known as impeachment of the president. So dear students, these are the main points which I want to share with you today, and we are winding up today's class here, and in the next day we will come up with the continuation of this chapter, and in the next class we will be going to discuss about powers of the President of India. And I hope that you have got a very clear idea about the points which I have explained in this class, and we will be meeting again in the next class with the continuation of this chapter. Till then, I would like to sign off. Thank you.